Shalom and welcome to 2 Minutes of Torah. This year is entitled, does a shul need a real Mechiza? So the Gemara at Daf Yomi Berachot talks about a Mechiza, the role of Mechiza in certain halachot. And it's not talking about a shul, but I'm adding that question in. And you'll say, what kind of question is that to ask? Does shul need a Mechiza? Anyone knows a little bit of history of America and Jewry in the 1900s, that was a dividing point, literally and figuratively. Where conservatives were very strong from the late 1800s, early 1900s, and reform already was way before that. The question is, Orthodoxy is going to make it or not? And shuls were losing mechitzas or trying to have mechitzas. In which direction were they going in? That was the battle of Orthodox Judaism. So what kind of crazy question for me to ask is, does a shul need mechitzas? It's obvious. I asked, does a shul need a real mechitzah? What's a real mechitzah mean? When I go around, I check sukkahs out before Sukkot. And what if you have just those panels that fly in the wind and they're not tied down and they're loose? Well, that's not a mechitzah. And then you have to define how strong does it have to be. If it's a material that moves a little bit back and forth, is that a mechitzah? On Shabbat, halachot of Eruvin, separate reshut, separate domain. A mechitzah means 10 tefachim of a solid material tied down on the bottom. There's a certain width to it. There's no space between the bottom and the floor, and certainly not a few tefachim space. It's less than 3 tefachim space. You can't just have things run back and forth under it. There's details on what a mechitzah is. And the mechitzah separates reshut from reshut. Kilayim, Sukkot, Eruvin. There's halachas of what, quote, a real mechitzah is. Do we need that for a shul? Or you can have a little drape, a curtain, that you can move back and forth, and when it's time for davening, you set it up. The wind would blow it anywhere. It's not even attached on the bottom. It's not even within a few tefachim from the bottom of the floor. But we say that's a mechitzah. And yet, if a shul would just have a 10 tefachim, let's say 1 meter high, solid wood wall, that's a real mechitzah. Is that a real mechitzah for a shul? So this is a fantastic question. And not enough time to cover in this small little slot, but many poskim say, no, you don't need a real halachic mechitzah. That's a separation of one reshut to another. You just need a division between the men and the women so there's no intermixing and no seeing one another. We'll elaborate that in Mitzvah in the future, but it doesn't have to be a wall, solid. It doesn't need any of that. Rav Hankin, in Bnei Banim, his very first tshuva, Chelik Aleph, tshuva Aleph, Paskins, you need a halachic mechitzah. In addition to not seeing and not mixing, he analyzes that whole topic. It needs to be a halachic mechitzah. If you use some flimsy material, it's not even touching the ground, nowhere close to the ground. You move it this way, move it that way, back and forth. And literally it's flowing in the wind. That's not a mechitzah. Halachically in Sukkot is not a mechitzah, and Shabbat is not a mechitzah, Erev not a mechitzah, Kilayim not a mechitzah, and not for shul as well. So he's very machmir that in addition to any other separations in the shul, you need the height and all that, you need a halachic mechitzah. And therefore he criticized shuls that didn't have it. While many shuls have those flippant materials, like in Rahama or where we have a separation between the men and the woman, but it's not a halachic mechitzah that's borrowed from other areas of the Torah. Fascinating sugya. Shalom.